And the national media just 2 years ago was, this is impossible. But now the police are more and more behaving themselves. But we've had to do this because I saw cases every week in the news where somebody would be putting their gun in the back of their car to go deer hunting or the shooting range, and neighbors would call the cops on them. Even in rural areas, having a gun in your pickup truck there in a gun rack, you'd get pulled over. They were creating a culture where you don't have that in public or we're going to harass you. We've thrown it back in their face, and now it's really freaking the system out because they base all these cop show dramas, if you've noticed, Michael, in New York. So they see cop shows where we pulled him over, he's got a gun, you're going to jail for this. And then I talked to people in Texas, and I was in Nevada, has some of the most pro-Second Amendment laws in the country, and they said, yeah, I sure wish I could have a gun. And I said, do you have a criminal record? And they said, no. Because I was with Jesse Ventura at a shooting range for a video shoot, and I was talking to folks that were in Las Vegas but lived there who were local crew, and one of them was a mother, and she didn't know she could have a gun, period, because she watches TV. So there's this incredible ignorance. What do you think of this revolution of people wearing guns openly to show the public, the police, and everybody else, this is my right? I mean, I think this is one of the most powerful models we've seen.
I love it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I wish it had happened a long time ago. And in addition to classes on the Constitution, I have personally offered a couple of gun classes. I was in Kokomo, Indiana, about 5 weeks ago, and had 8 or 9 people out. And Alex, I was really impressed. After just a couple hours, all of these people were hitting the target. They had real gun control. They were putting in nice little group, and I am happy to offer that service to anybody who wants to learn how to shoot. Just give me a call. I'm willing to do anything I can to promote liberty.
Well, that's what I love. You don't just go on national TV or be the Libertarian nominee. You've always loved going out and even teaching small groups of people, because we talked about it today. You understand the power is in every individual you wake up, every individual you empower to be a leader. That's where the real strength is.
Absolutely. We are all supposed to be individuals. We all have individual rights, which is the only kind of rights that exist. Your listeners may be a little surprised. I hate the phrase constitutional rights, because when you say that over and over again, it sounds as if the Constitution gives you your rights. And if that's true, then the Constitution can take those rights away. The Constitution only enumerates your rights. It just lists them on paper. But if we burn the Constitution and shred the Bill of Rights, it's certainly not going to get me to shut up. They're certainly not going to get me to turn in my guns just because they got rid of a piece of paper.
Exactly. I want to say something to atheists out there, because I always get their emails when I talk about God-given rights, or you talked about it on the radio today. They're not getting it. Even if you're an atheist, agnostic, whatever it is, something is going to claim it has the right of the sovereign to issue things, okay, from its throne. And so by saying I as an individual have galactic rights, universal rights, organic rights, that's another way of saying God-given, saying I innately, like they didn't have it written down as a law 200 years ago that a black person was a human and had a right to grab the whip away of the slave master and beat him over the head with it, but he inherently had that God-given right to not be a slave. Roman emperors, could slit people's throats for fun if they wanted to. I believe under God-given rights, if the Roman emperor wasn't defending themselves and doing that to an innocent, the person had a right to kill the Roman emperor. I mean, it's very simple. If government is God, then it can do whatever it wants. And it more and more is saying we can kill U.S. citizens without a trial. We can bomb people in countries with drones and don't even know who they are. We can be above the law. We can violate your rights. We can spy on you. I want you to speak to God-given rights and explain that to the atheist out there, that you just made the government God when you don't, you say, well, I don't want God-given. Explain that to them. And then I want you to speak on, well, I mean, I'll bring it up again because there's so many points, but they're banning cash and secondhand sales in Louisiana. Louisiana is also, in other states, saying cops can search your car without a warrant now on a hunch. That's not probable cause. I magically think, because the psychic said, I mean, we're really seeing a full-out conscious assault. We're seeing Time Magazine, Newsweek come out and demonize all of our basic liberties, saying the Constitution's bad. Talk about that.
In my class, I always ask if Chinese people have a right to life. And the answer is, of course they do. I ask, do they have a constitution? Do they have a Bill of Rights? Do they have a government that respects their right to life? And the answer to all of that is no. We do have a constitution, we do have a Bill of Rights, but we don't have a government that respects our rights. And whether you believe in God or not, you as an individual have a responsibility to survive. That is hardwired into your DNA. And if you do believe in God, and you believe that God gave you this body, then, I mean, you have even a greater responsibility to make sure that nobody damages or kills your body. Only God can take that power. And so, even Christians, I ask them, does the Constitution protect atheists? I mean, even if they don't believe in God, they still have that right to life. And if God has given us the right to freedom to choose and free will, then we should be as magnanimous. And, if a person doesn't believe in God, that's going to be handled someplace else at another time. It's not our issue. But everybody understands self-defense. And that's kind of one of the tangible ways to understand your rights.
Sure. I mentioned this today with you, but I'm going to put it on screen. Here's the BBC. But when I saw this 2 weeks ago, linked at drudgereport.com, we then put it on Infowars.com. But I thought, well, that's just the British view. Then I went and found articles in the city where this happened. That was in Philadelphia. And then I went and saw other articles where they agreed. They said the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence particularly, is bad. There's the BBC headline, "Is the U.S. Declaration of Independence illegal?" And it says to claim that individuals have an inherent right to basic liberties that are in this document is bad. And the article goes on with the pro and con, but the con is basically the view picked up by government today, and then our own papers kind of externalize what's already being taught to police on videos. I talked to you today about Road to Tyranny, where it actually has the state police from their own squad car video at a checkpoint. They go, "We're going to search your car." And she goes, "No, Fourth Amendment. This is in Virginia in 2000. And they say, "Get out," and they find a pocket constitution, and they start hyperventilating. And you think it's like a skit or something, of like an absurdist joke, but it's not. I mean, they've actually, well, it's like these guys might as well be from Mars or something. So why do you think Time Magazine, Newsweek, I can show those two actually saying the reason things aren't good is the Constitution. In fact, they're saying, get rid of this and government will make everything okay. But it's since we started getting rid of it, everything's going to hell in a handbasket.
Well, I think it was Goebbels, who worked for Hitler, that said, if you tell a lie often enough, people will eventually believe it. This is a huge propaganda campaign. I was accosted by a Texas police officer, and I asked if he had taken an oath to protect and defend the Constitution. He said, well, the Texas Constitution. And so I accused him of impersonating an officer. And he finally said, well, yes, I guess the Constitution was in there someplace. I said, so then you can tell me how many articles are in the Constitution, right? And in 3 minutes, I had him going from, hard guy cop, trying to intimidate me, to rocking back on his heels. Your audience needs to know the Constitution. They need to have the courage to defend their ideas using the Constitution.
Exactly, because that's my point. And I want you to continue. Behind the scenes, there's a total war against it. Now it's out in the open. And in fact, I had a video today I never got to. Guys, if you can cue it up, it's at Infowars.com. The headline was, it was a Steve Watson article. And if you just type into the search engine, and we'll play it so Mike can hear it if we have time. What was the exact headline? I meant to get to it tonight. The good part about this being my own show is I can last minute, come up with something. It's not all scripted. The headline was Penal Code Trump's First Amendment. And they're just a little demonstration at a park, and the cops come up and say, you got to leave. And they go, but it's our First Amendment right to assemble and all this. And the cop says, that doesn't matter, penal code. And of course, they can just make that up out of anything or interpret it however they want. Marbury versus Madison. We understand it's a fraud. But for those that don't know, this is America. These people claim they love America all day, and we're doing this because America's the good guys. America's been different and been the example of the world because of the Declaration of Independence, Constitution, Bill of Rights, because it did enumerate. And then the establishment always attacks the founders as not being perfect. No, but they gave the greatest expression of liberty that far into history. And so now we've gone back before that to tyranny. So you're pointing out they're assaulting it. That's right. We've got to defend it. I mean, they wouldn't be assaulting it and trying to get cops hyped up to hate it. So many cops and judges now say, I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. You know, I mean, this is treason, isn't it? This is treachery. Michael.
Absolutely, it is treason. And again, people get really freaked out when you start to talk like that, but it is treason. These people are violating the Constitution. They are violating our individual rights, and they are doing it because, for the most part, Americans on whole allow them to get away with it. I don't know if you're aware that about 5 months ago, the Indiana Supreme Court decided that if the police are kicking down your door at 2 a.m. without a warrant committing a crime, you still do not have the authority to defend yourself against the police, apparently because Indiana state policy trumps your right to life. And, you know, I loaded another magazine. Anybody comes through my front door at 2 o'clock in the morning is never going home again.
Well, the system's going to have a problem if they continue to push this. Michael Bagnerick, in closing, I want to give you the floor for 4 or 5 minutes here, because I know you can talk for 10 hours like I can. In fact, it doesn't even do you justice just to have you here and have me ask my babbling questions. But tell us about your Operation Domino or Domino Effect, and then tell us the two possible futures, where this is going if we let the tyrants win, where we're going if we stand up. You've got the floor, 4 or 5 minutes. Break it down for us.
Well, one of the projects that we have is freeamericanow.org. It's an organization that is there to support all of the liberty organizations that are already in existence. Our goal is to provide education and media and support for all the people who are out there on the front line.
Ammo.
We're not trying to take over or tell you how to do your job. We just want to make you more effective at what you are already doing. Now, one of the projects that group is supporting is Sheriff Mack's project called the County Sheriff Project. Sheriff Mack wants to bring 200 sheriffs to Las Vegas and teach them about their oath of office. Sheriff Mack has invited me to come and talk to them about the Bill of Rights. The goal is to have them sign a letter to Washington, D.C. explaining the flow of political power, telling them that the federal government is not welcome in those 200 counties. I'm doing a parallel project for myself that I call